Hi and welcome to the channel. I'm Sam and this is the Crafty Blinder van build. The van's hit 80,000 miles, so today we're fitting a new Cambelt kit. Okay, so we're gonna get back into it. We finished up last night. We got right down to Cambelt. I need some tools from my brother, so I've gone and collected them now. Just a matter of taking that bottom pulley off, the cover off the front of the timing belt, and then we'll get into changing out the timing belt. See how we get on there. So we're going to take these 4 bolts out in the pulley. That should allow us to take that top cover off there and open up the rest of the belt, expose the rest of the belt. So before we do that, I'm going to take a photo of how the cam belt runs. That wasn't a photo, that was me switching the camera around. And I suggest you do this because there's nothing worse than sitting there going, how did that go together? And then realising you didn't have a clue how it was sat originally. So we'll do that now. We'll take the timing belt off, sorry, the auxiliary belt, and then we're on to the timing belt. Right, so that's them 4 loose. So we'll take a couple out, and we'll take the timing belt off. The auxiliary belt, sorry, I keep saying timing belt. We're going to get something to go on there. Just lift the tension up out of the way. Drop it off that one. Take the belt out of the way. And just let it off slowly. There you go. Now, obviously that'll be stuck on there. We need to see if that'll drop off. Let's give it a tap with a mallet. Just make sure everything's lined up before we go any further. All lined up. That one off. I'll need the torque 30, take them off. And there she comes. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. So there's 2 types of tool to lock the crank in place. There's this one, which I'm not sure if it is that one. And then there's this one, which, yes, it's that one there. How good's that? So that's now locked in place. So these are specialist tools for locking the crank. So again, obviously these bits here and then to line up. Right, that's where that locks in. So we're not far. Before I said we were a little bit off, but we're not actually. And something, you know, these aren't fancy pins, these are just old bolts that we've got. Could even use, if you can get them to fit, a drill bit to hold it in place. But these bolts are perfect size, so I'll just slot that in there. So we've got one pin locked in there, one pin in there, and this crank lock on there. So this is like an indicator really of how much wear there is on your belt. So when we set this up, it wants to be in the centre of there. That's what we're aiming for anyway. So, moment of truth now, it's time to start taking this bloody belt off. Next thing to do is crack these off just a little bit. Now, they're a different size, so we're going to change that out. So we've loosened them off because when we put the belt back on and we rotate it a couple of times, all the slack will come out the belt. We then need to adjust the setting of these so these pins will go back in, because it's not guaranteed that they'll go straight back in. Now, how the hell do we make that turn? Let's have a little look. Oh, there we go. That's how you make that come up. I just couldn't remember. It come to me in a while there. Let's loosen off a couple. Is every one of these going to be a different size? Oh my god. I think that's a yes. That one will go on there. That one will go there. And that one there. Right. There. Oh, that's not too bad. It's a strange concept, changing parts, perfectly good working parts, when there's nothing wrong with them. But when it comes to your cam belt, this is a must. You want the parts to be in good working order, because if they're not, they'll damage your belt, they could fail, they could cause you problems. So when you're stripping this belt out, you're going to find that everything looks fine, and that's right. But it's been on my van for 80,000 miles. It deserves a change. So while we're in here, all the followers, the belt and the water pump will be changed out. Away. So let's have a look at it. It's had a life. So we've had our money's worth out of it anyway. So next shot is taking this off the water pump. So 5mm Allen key. Crack them all up first. So, step closer again. Let's remove that. Tiny pry bar. There you go. Still pretty good. It's sticky places, but still pretty good. Felt worse. So we've got the new pump there. Nice and smooth action. So we'll pop that back in now. Simple as that. New water pump fitted. What should we do next? I'm just fitting everything in reverse order. So that tab there sits in that slot there. I believe we have a new nut for this. We'll just put that on finger tight. So that was everything that we had in place when we had the belt on. Let's have a look at this new belt. So just offered the old belt up against the new one. And they are the same size. So let's just pop it into play. We'll get it around the bottom first. And then work our way around the pulleys in a clockwise direction. With a little bit of patience, the belt finally fell into place. All that's left to fit now is the two smaller idle pulleys. Okay, now time to start picking things back up, isn't it? While I was editing this video, I found an installation data sheet made by Continental, and it's absolutely brilliant. It's got all the torque settings in and step-by-step process for installing this Cambelt. I just wish I'd found it a few days earlier. I'll leave a link in the description. Just tighten that, just tighten that, tighten that. Just that left to do now. So I'm going to set it up so it's just past, yeah? That way, if there's any slack in the belt, it will absorb it. And now, doesn't need much more than that. We should now remove this clamp. Doesn't want to move. So with the water pump off, we've tightened that. Let's just give that a little reassurance nip, just to make sure we haven't missed anything. Tight. 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 I'm not putting a lot of pressure on there. I'm just putting enough on to see that we haven't left them loose. We've just done that. We don't want to over tighten that because it will snap. The next thing we really need to do is pull these two pins. They're a bit tight. Both a bit tight. So what we're going to do now, just wiggle this a little bit. That's one out. That's just a bit tight. So before we put anything back on the front of that pulley, put that pulley back on, we need to put all this to bed. So there's the notch, top dead centre. Okay. It's really important at this stage to rotate the engine at least a couple of times by hand. This will help seat the belts so they sit right on the pulleys and the followers and don't foul anywhere. It'll also give you peace of mind that the valves aren't going to hit the top of the pistons. Right. So we've rotated that a few times. We took the slack out of the belt. Okay, so we've got that changed over now. So we've marked it up, top dead centre again. Well, we've centred the cam. Now we need to look at this. Now, we've taken the slack out of the belt. If you have a look, it's sitting right in the gap. So I'm happy with that. As long as it's between them marks, you're pretty good to go. So we're going to alter this one first. We've got our long pin here, but if you look, things have moved. So we'll put that on. You don't need that extension. We'll put this on here, and that should adjust the cam timing. Oh, there we go. So that's it in. Now, with your timing kit comes some fresh bolts for these. Let's take that out of the way. So while we're here, let's swap them out. They're the originals, and this is a new one. Right. So I did move that just ever so slightly. Took us off our mark at the bottom there. That moves freely now. So that's that one all done. Okay, so now we've got to line up this back piece. So it works on the same principle as that one. We just need to move this round till it lines up, and how we're going to do that is we'll just pry these. We'll use a pry bar between the two bolts. That's that. There you go. That's it all done. So we just need to nip that up. And it comes out just like that. So in theory, that's as good to go. Before we start the engine up, it's time to refit the auxiliary belt. If you remember, I took a picture of this so I couldn't forget, so I wouldn't forget how it goes back on. go. That seems to have lined up everything. Let's give it a little rock. Right. That seems bob on. Okay, I've just gone and checked the picture. That is exactly the same as before. When you look at it, there is only one way it can go, isn't there? You know, but when you get to this stage, I'm always questioning myself, have I done that? Have I tightened this? Is that right? And I know that I've double checked everything. I know that I've quadruple checked everything, but it's just that peace of mind, isn't it? I'm about to fire up the engine on my self-built van that I've invested a lot of time in, a lot of money in, and I just want to make sure everything's right. Oh, look, I've got a mark on my head. I just want to make sure everything's right, and I just question myself. I find myself doing this all the time. I've just had a little chat with my brother, make sure everything's in the right places, you know. Is that right? Is that, you know, should it be sitting to the left? You know, I've rotated it a few times, it's moved around. My brother just says, yeah, as long as it's more to the left, you're all right. If it was more to the right, you're probably too tight. So, it's a moment of truth. I've got to go and fire it up now. Fingers crossed. That was music to my ears. What a relief. I know I shouldn't worry, but I did, because things do go wrong. And what if tonight was the night when it was going to go wrong? I'm so happy that it fired up. And it seemed to fire up a lot quicker than normal. So maybe the pump timing was a little bit out, maybe the cam timing was a little bit out. And by putting the new belt on, we've solved that problem. But yeah, let's get it all fired back together. There's a few little things to go on tonight, and then I'm calling it a day. We'll get the fan belt and the fan housing on, and that'll do us for tonight. It's been a long, stressful evening. That's it. Oh, good night. Thanks for watching to the end. Without you guys, this channel will be dead in the water. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Crafty Blinders. If you like what we're doing, please remember to subscribe, like and share with your friends. Until next time, take care and we'll see you again.